Hello, everybody, and welcome back to False Nine Footy. So, Tottenham have just made two pretty major signings in the last couple of days. They signed Morgan Gibbs-White and Mohamed Kudus. So, Morgan Gibbs-White they signed for around 60 million pounds from Nottingham Forest, and Mohamed Kudus for around 55 million pounds. So, 115 million pounds between two players. So in this video, I kind of just want to kind of dissect the moves and how they're gonna kind of fit into Thomas Frank's Tottenham squad. Um, so yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So Morgan Gibbs-White, let's start with Gibbs-White. Gibbs-White had obviously an excellent season last year at Nottingham Forest. In 34 matches in the Premier League, he scored 7 goals, 8 assists. And if you watched the Premier League last season, you know Nottingham Forest, they absolutely overperformed. I mean, they were in the running to make it into the Champions League, but they just kind of fell off a little bit in the later stages of the season. They ended up finishing 7th, which is honestly pretty good for Nottingham Forest. And obviously Gibbs-White he was a huge part of why they did so well. Him and Chris Wood. But no, Gibbs-White was terrific last season. So, obviously he's like an attacking midfielder, creative player. So I think, I'll talk about where he's going to fit into the squad. And then obviously you have Kudus, who was at West Ham last season. He scored 5 goals, 3 assists. Wasn't the greatest season for Kudus, but I mean, West Ham didn't have the best season either. They finished 14th. So wasn't a great season for West Ham, and it wasn't great for Kudus, but I mean, Kudus, it's funny. Kudus is a player that, like, ever since he was at Ajax, I've kind of rated. And I think it's interesting. So if we talk about these two players and how they fit into the squad. So basically, I'm going to kind of give my opinion on what the starting 11 should look like for Tottenham next season. So I think they should go with like a 4-2-3-1 or like a 4-3-3 attacking, obviously with an attacking midfielder. So obviously in goal you got Vicario. And then the back four, I feel like obviously they have depth like in defense, but like the main back four that should feature a lot throughout the season, in my opinion, should be if you start left back, you go Edogi, and then the two center backs you got Mickey Van de Ven and then Christian Romero, and then at the right back position you got Pedro Porro, and then Thomas Frank, he went 4-2-3-1 at Brentford last season, so he used like 2 CMs, CDMs. And in my opinion, I would go with Basuma and Sarr. Obviously, they have Betancourt as well, but for me, Basuma and Sarr are just they're for me they're better. Both of them are better than Betancourt, but obviously you have Betancourt. And then the attacking midfielder position, they obviously have James Maddison, but for me Gibbs-White is better than James Maddison. So I would go Basuma, Sarr, and then as the attacking midfielder position I would go Gibbs-White, and then that leaves the right wing, the striker, and the left wing. At the right wing position you go Kudus, and then obviously you've got Kulusevski, you've also got Brennan Johnson, so there's a little bit of depth there. And then Solanke or Richarlison at the number 9. Solanke, he did all right last season. Richarlison would be all right off the bench. And then the left wing positions where they're all right. They got Matisse Tell, they've got Odo Bear, and they've got Heung-min Son. So it's interesting because I've heard, there are rumors that Son, obviously his role might be reduced going forward at Tottenham. And that wouldn't be horrible because Odo Bear and Tell are excellent players and would obviously play in that position. So They have a lot of depth on the wings, so that's pretty good. In terms of striker, like Solanke's good. The thing is, Solanke, like I feel like they would need someone else. Like Richarlison, for me, like he's all right, but I feel like they need a little bit more quality at the striker position. Like if they could somehow, if they could get a guy like Samuel Omarodion from Porto, or like Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt, or like a Moise Ken from Fiorentina. He had an excellent season last year at Fiorentina. A few players, like obviously if they could get an Osimhen, and then Solanke becomes like your second striker. If you can get an Osimhen, a Gyökeres, but obviously Gyökeres is looking like he's going to Arsenal. So, the striker position, I think Solanke's all right, given that they have a lot of strength in other positions. But again, my starting 11, with the back line, as I said, Udogie, Van de Ven, Romero, Porro, and then you go Basuma Sarr, Gibbs-White as the attacking midfielder. On the right, you go Kudus. On the left, I would go Matisse Tell as the main guy, and then Audebert or Son as like the backups, or that you interchange every now and then Solanke would be the main striker. So overall, like I think those moves really improved them. Again, Kudus, it's so interesting because Kudus I thought was like, I still think he's a really good player, but obviously last season, if you look at right wingers, because that's where he usually plays, there are a lot of right wingers that were better than him last season. And if you're talking about if you're talking about the top 5 leagues, like right wingers, you have, your Salahs, your Yamals, your Rafinhas, your Dembeles. You got Alize. Even Mason Greenwood last season was better than Kudus, like way better. Mason Greenwood had an excellent season at Marseille. You have Cherki, who obviously went to Man City, but he had a great season last year. Akliouche at Monaco had a great season. And then kind of Kudus, I feel like, comes after those players. So maybe if Tottenham could have gotten an Akliouche or a Greenwood, that might have been a bit better. But I mean, Kudus for me, like, there's still a player there. He's only 24, so there's a lot of room for improvement. And I still remember when he was at Ajax and they went deep in the Champions League. Like, he's a big game player. He's obviously the thing is, West Ham, obviously their squad isn't the strongest, so he's not going to get a lot of help, a lot of support. So we'll see what happens at Tottenham. But there's a player there in Kudus. And then Gibbs-White's great because you have Gibbs-White now and you have James Maddison, who kind of occupy the same position, so you can just use them interchangeably, I guess. But Gibbs-White for me is slightly better, but it's good. It's good to have some depth. So I think it's all right. So we'll see what they do. Again, if they decide to offload Son, I guess that would help. With the finances, given this is like 115 million pounds between two players. But if I look at the Tottenham squad, I would say they need some more midfielder. Like, they need like one more maybe elite like center mid, and then like a striker. Because Solanke, for me, he does a good job, but I just feel like they need like a real elite striker. But I mean, obviously they're few and far between right now. So yeah, what do I think this does for Tottenham? I think it does improve them drastically. And so yeah, I think it's a good business. The price is a bit much, in my opinion, for like Gibbs-White. If they could have gotten for maybe 50, 45 million, it's a lot between two players, but it does improve the squad, undoubtedly. So yeah. With that being said, it's obviously an exciting time of year. I'm gonna try and cover more transfers. I'll probably make a video about Jonathan David going to Juventus. Obviously, it's a little bit old. It happened like a couple of days ago, but As a Juventus fan, I do want to cover that a little bit in depth. So yeah, with all that being said, I'll see you guys next time.